We've got Adam Jones on the show today. Joe, he's one of the best quizzers I think around. I think he's been on nearly every quiz show there is available.
What's he been on?
The most impressive one is Mastermind. Like, that's a proper quiz show.
Is there a reason then I like The Chase? Maybe I'm not so highbrow.
Chase
Brad,
is good.
I love Brad.
I gotta be honest,
really good,
I like the one just before Tipping Point.
Tipping Point?
Because it reminds me of when we used to go to the fair. Right?
Yeah, I know. You used to give it a quick kick.
Of course, yeah. It's anywhere.
Bang!
In the fair, it's anywhere you can win.
I got asked
all the alarms would go off.
I got asked to go on the weakest link before.
Did you?
I turned it down.
Why?
I was too scared to show myself up, so they put Andy Powell on instead.
I tell you the one.
He was voted first off.
The one we used to love, and I used to watch a lot, was Countdown, because, as you know, when you go training in the afternoon, you'd always finish training after all the extras or whatever you'd done, and you come into and everyone would meet in the physio room, not to watch Countdown, to get a massage or treatment, whatever, and because we could order cream tea straight from reception.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I do love Countdown.
And we sit down and watch Countdown. Yeah.
So, one of my claims to fame?
Right.
I have won pointless celebrities. Before you even say it, I know it's ironic. I have one pointless celebrity.
That's a good one,
but
though.
the only answer I remember, and I don't remember the question, but the answer was Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Now there's a combo for you.
No, there's a combo for you. That's the only thing I remember is Rocky and Bullwinkle.
We must have enjoyed a bit of, what was it, Bullseye back in the day?
Is that Wacky Races?
Catchphrase as well.
Bullseye is being reignited by Freddie Flintoff, isn't he?
And Luke Littler, he was on, wasn't he?
Stay out of the black and in the red, nothing for two in a bed.
Oh, can you imagine the pressure though? You know what I mean? You got 100, they only had to 101, didn't they, with 6 darts. The darts player and the non-darts player.
Oh.
I know. The generation game was good, wasn't it?
Yes. Oh, Scotty.
Oh, no, I think
you
that's
nailed it.
The generation game, I think that had something for everybody.
Cuddly toy.
And nothing for everybody as well.
Champagne glasses, the hamper, the pillows.
Hamper.
Yeah. Fondue set. That was it. That was always the last. A fondue set.
Watching Wales play in the 90s was like,
well, we enjoyed it.
Win all the time, didn't you? I can remember looking over the other bed and they were kind of realigning Gethin's cheek, which was broken.
Right.
Oh. And I was in pain, but he was absolutely screaming, and that was the only plus point really, that he was in more pain than me and scared on the green.
Oh no.
I'm thinking, oh God, I think I might get in trouble for this. There was being Welsh, going to Harlequins, to slow everything down so everyone can understand what I'm saying. And
Scott hasn't learned that yet.
Hey, come on.
like they're not sort of my size or your size, or I'm glad they're not your size. But like, do you know what I listen to? A little bald guy from Wigan. I don't want to do the accent, but he was like, "Hey, Bum, have you ever had cornrows? I think you look cool as fuck with cornrows." I was like, "Oh really?" And I had it down, and I was like,
Made you look younger.
I looked up, and all I could see was his genitals in my face like that. He looks at me, he says, "Should I put some shorts on?" I say, yeah, let's start with that.
Yeah.
Lighten the mood straight away.
Oh.
Do you know who made these?
No.
Lot.
Did you?
Yeah.
I mean, he's made them before.
So there's our little.
My favourite bit, if I'm honest.
Our local, got a little bit of chilli in them, little local delicacy. I read the running order wrong. I thought it said, "Lawrence, you're in charge." So I woke up at 5 this morning and started baking sausage rolls. But we've also got dessert from Rosie in our production team, who's made crispy Rice Krispie
You
cakes.
said to me you're looking
That's
quite...
my level of bacon.
This is the reason why.
I said, I said, Jonesy's coming on. I said, he'll appreciate a good sausage roll.
I absolutely do, yeah.
Adam Jones.
I know.
Tom.
On the podcast.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Why Bomb? That's what we want to know. Why is your nickname Bomb? Because that's what you're known internationally.
It's a bad... There's a wrestler in the late 90s called Adam Bomb.
Yeah.
My name was Adam. I was in college, in Cletley, in College Cigar.
College Cigar?
And someone started calling me Adam Bomb. Yeah, honestly, it's rubbish. It's a good nickname.
Well,
It's a brilliant nickname.
Yeah,
Have you thought about coming up with a better story?
Well, I like it's a good nickname.
It's a brilliant nickname.
I like the nickname.
You are very welcome to stick to rugby.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on as our guest. The current Quins scrum coach, Wales superstar, 3 Grand Slams, over 95 caps.
Oh, wow.
95, yeah.
95, 2 Lions tours, and everything that goes with it.
Oh, five caps as well.
And before we get down to the rugby, we've been doing a fair bit of research, and we've worked out that not only are you got to the top of your game in rugby, but also you're a bit of a quiz master. You do not mind a quiz.
I do. I like a quiz. Yeah. I always wanted to go on Question Sport, so that was the dream.
I watched you on Question Sport because they sent through the thing. You answered not only all the rugby questions, you do home and away, but you actually answered everything. You answered everyone else's questions as well.
I think I made Sue Barker's book. I think I had 18 in one episode.
Well
18.
done.
Yeah, so it was.
I made a book as well. I got none in one episode. Literally, I used to go away, so it wasn't so embarrassing.
What was your? So you are the Martin Johnson of our team because Jono loves a quiz. And he's got incredible memory recall. Is that the same for you, or do you just
only around stuff I like? Like in school, I was terrible. I was like, came out with a couple of 3 GCSEs, maths, English, and catering, as you'd probably imagine. And I wasn't a fan of school, but like
catering,
yeah,
for your love of food.
Yeah, exactly. So it was, and it kind of stuck with me. And it was never, but like stuff I like, I've always kind of like music, sport.
And have you actually been on televised? Which quizzes have you been on and represented? You've done Question of Sport,
Mastermind, and The Chase. Yeah.
You're good on Mastermind.
What was the specialist subject then? Come on.
British Lions. 89 to 2005. So you both. I think you might have both been questions. I think.
What was that a question?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Do you remember the question?
I can't remember the question.
No, because he only remembers things.
How many times?
He likes.
Is there a quiz you'd like to go on?
I do. I used to like that one. Well, it can't be that good. Pointless, but yeah, I was quite fancy that.
I've won that one.
Have you?
Yeah.
Pointless.
Myself and Austin Healy.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Rocky and Bullwinkle was one of my. That's the standard. That's the standard.
Yeah.
So we won it, and then you get down to do the pointless one, and then unfortunately we got one answer on. Yeah. And I remember one of them was Adam the Ants was one of them. It got for number ones in the 80s, and it got down to one. I thought Adam the Ants was my first ever single I bought. Stand and Deliver. Yeah. There was.
You like a bit of woad in the face.
First single? What was do you remember what you?
Oh my God, I think it was the Jungle Book on, like the big discs.
I thought you were going to say Jungle Music then.
Do you know what? It was a
Coolio I had.
It was a special occasion. Apparently, you go out and buy a single or an LP. You spend your Saturday pocket money. You go and get yourself a bit of vinyl.
HMV, is it? HMV.
Do you know the only problem? I went down to town, so excited, came back with Adam the Ants. Do you know what I forgot? Didn't have a record player. It was there for 2 years before I got a record player. You know what I mean? Shocking.
Well, listen, we couldn't, through your love of quizzes, we couldn't resist putting on a little quiz. And
wonderful.
KDM is going to be Sue Barker.
The 2001 British and Irish Lions won the first test against the Wallabies. They had two 21-year-old stars in the making in their backline. Who were they?
O'Driscoll.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes.
Oh,
not
easy. This wasn't even hard, to be fair. I think I would have got that one.
Think about it. You answered that with disgust. Ask me a proper question.
This one's potentially slightly better. Who is next on this list? Alan Wynne-Jones, Gethin Jenkins, George North, Dan Biggar.
Ooh.
I can give you what the list is, but that gives
It's the
him...
most capped Welsh players, isn't it? So I can't remember. Someone like it's Steve Jones.
Nope.
I don't know.
He's still going now.
Still going.
Yeah, he's still playing.
Faratau.
Yes.
Oh, is he got that many caps? Is he? Oh, fair.
Yeah.
Oh, he's been around a while, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Good number 8. Very good number 8.
The best.
Okay.
Second best.
The British and Irish Lions won the...
Excuse
me. The British and Irish Lions won the first test in 97 against South Africa, 25-16. But who scored their 2 tries on the day?
Matt Dawson, Alan Tate.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That's easy.
Yeah. Tape was like this, wasn't it?
Yeah. Matt Dawson's dummy one, wasn't it?
Yeah. Iconic.
How many Welsh players have won 3 Grand Slams?
7.
Yeah, can you name them?
Yeah, of course I can. Alwyn, me, Jughead, Mellon, Gerald, Gareth, and JBR.
Can I just say Jughead is Ryan Jones?
I assume that.
Yeah, and Mellon is Gethin Jenkins.
Sorry.
The other question is, can I borrow one? Because genuinely, like this.
How would you get?
2. Right, I got injured, didn't I?
Let's forget this quiz now. There's no need to ask this last question. It's terrible.
No,
Okay, and the final question. In 1999, Wales beat England 32-31 at Wembley in a match Lawrence remembers as the worst day of rugby
My fault.
of his career. And we continue, obviously, to remind him of that. England missed a chance of a Grand Slam, but which country won the 5 Nations as a result?
Scotland.
Yes. Very good. Well done.
I've got to be honest.
Is that the last time they won?
It's the last time they've won anything.
Yeah.
But like I said before, they sent us a bottle of whiskey to say thank you for beating England.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. We had a famous grouse back at the Copthorne Hotel.
Was it your pass?
It was my fumble.
No,
it was my fumble. It was my rugby intellect took over. Growing up, who was the influences for you and in your early days?
Obviously, I wasn't allowed to play. I was allowed to play rugby, but only in school.
All right.
So, because I used to have to go because rugby was on the Sunday.
Yeah.
So I used to have to go to church.
Were you religious?
My mum was. My dad was. My dad doesn't know much about it, but my mother sort of.
With the camper.
So yeah, Abercrave St David's Church in Abercrave in the choir and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So I wasn't allowed to play on the Sunday, but then as a Welshman you'd know, my local team Abercrave didn't have a team. Right. So but the next local team was Ystradgynlais. But Abercrave Ystradgynlais, massive rivalry. Yeah. My mother couldn't stand them. So even on the Sunday then I wasn't allowed to go and play for Ystradgynlais. So my father, when I was about 16, I finally got me to play for Glais, which was another 10 miles down the road. So, but yeah, and then I played in school and stuff like that.
So you were late into it because of religion held you back?
I played in school. Right. I wasn't allowed to play on the Sunday. No, I wasn't allowed to play on the Sunday because I was religious, because my mother made me go to church. Yeah. And made me sing in the choir with the old cassock and all that type of stuff on. So it wasn't ideal.
I'm just picturing it.
I enjoyed stuff like this too much, and I was kind of 18. I bulked up to about 23 stone, so I was never kind of going to, make it anywhere really.
You should have given me a call. We could have given him a seesaw.
Did you get an A+ in catering?
No, I only got a C. I'd eaten the food by the time I came out. So I never really wasn't really. I played a bit of West Wales and type of stuff, but West Glamorgan that. Sorry.
So how old were you at this
18.
point? So at 18.
18 and 19. I went to college and
college cigar
because there was a rugby course there. Sean Holly was and John Daniels was he's the general manager of the Scarlets. Yeah. I went there. There was a 21s league started. Neath had a team. Caerphilly side. So everyone had a side. So there was a guy in Abercrave called John Davis who pushed me to go over there. He had a couple of good games early doors, and Lynn took a liking to me along with Mike Cuddy and Roland, and
Neath were an incredible side, didn't they?
Yeah.
When you come here, look at the players that were playing for Neath. They're like Gibbsy, Alan Bateman, and that were there. Pewee was there. Mark Jones. You have a look at the front row. John Davis, Kevin Phillips. You know what I mean? And
I wasn't in that mould. That's what took a while for Neath to get hold of me. Because Brian and these guys were all sort of smaller, slightly. I was just big, huge lump of a guy. Phil Pugh was the team manager. So
because they had this reputation with Barry Williams there and everything. They had this reputation. They used to run up to the castle, didn't they? They used to run up into the tower, and they used to also run back. So was that a difficult team to go into then?
Well, I was a bit after those guys, but the history of it wasn't. Yeah. Because Dunk was there at the time, who was a bit more that sort of size. I was a little bit more. I had to spend a little bit more time with Steve Richards, the fitness coach, and Phil Pugh. Phil Pugh, in fairness, scared about 2 stone off me. It was a good club because of the history. It's only sort of 15 miles from my house, so I was kind of living back home. But it was. I'm working under Lynn and Roland, as you know well. Roland was the perfect guy. He was 21 coach, still playing, but.
Hard as names as well.
Bit of a personality as well. Which
character.
Brilliant for a young... Because, I'd never played 16s, 18s, 21s. I never played that level, so it was something totally different.
And I guess domestically, that Ospreys side that you became part of, I mean, you had the likes of Tommy Bowe, Shane Williams, Mike Phillips, Dan Bigger. Yeah. I mean, and then you had Jerry Collins there as well, the late great Jerry Collins. Just a couple of words.
Marshall.
On Jerry, just for us as a.
Jerry was. He was exciting that he was coming because he obviously I played against him. He was always one of the All Blacks who was real post-match, and you'd have a beer with them, but also came and enjoyed the company, and so you always kind of met him and knew him through that. Yeah. But when he came, and I don't know, for some reason when we'd go to France, we'd go there with just the Welsh boys. Yeah. And I don't want to say they'd bully you, but but then all of a sudden we signed Philo Tiatia and we signed Jerry Collins, and you just see when you go to France then it was a little bit of a different mindset. They knew they wouldn't take so many liberties. Yeah. So especially actually with Philo when he first came, there was a little bit more, there was less cheap shots, there was less, gouging or whatever. But yeah, Jerry was like, it's gone down to the folklore, sort of.
Yeah, of course.
His travels around Wales, he'd want to watch a football game, so you go to Tesco's, buy a 50-inch TV for the pub, and leave it there.
I've got to say, he's greatly missed and greatly remembered.
Yeah.
One guy who's greatly remembered, because he tells everyone, is Mike Phillips, who's a good mate of yours. My son didn't really, bless him, Enzo, didn't really know who he was, kept calling him Chris Phillips, which made me laugh a lot. What separated Chris from the rest?
Probably is, obviously he's a big bugger, and he's probably underrated skill set, but how, and I don't mean this in how arrogant he was, and how much he always believed that he was the best player on the pitch, and that went a long way. He was he was 6'4", 16 odd stone, quick. He actually he had a better pass than people, better kick than people remember. But
he just didn't use it a lot.
No, because he wanted to run over people. And when you got something like that, it's like, and he'd almost, if you needed a 9-man game, to have someone like him around there was brilliant.
Stick to Rugby, brought to you by Defender.
Right, so a little bit like this is your life now, right? We're going to come on to it. You become the best tight end in the world, right? And we talked about the struggles and coming through with rugby. But I remember speaking to you, and one of the toughest times was when Steve Hansen, the brilliance of picking you for Wales, but that period when he'd only pick you for 30 minutes. What was going through your mind?
It was tough. It was hard. It was real hard for my parents as well. As whether it was getting subbed after half an hour, and the crowd and the press. It's probably a lot. It'd be a lot harder now, I think, with the social media and that type of stuff. So I was probably lucky from that point of view. But I think the tough thing I probably found I didn't know initially. Yeah. So when it was against the All Blacks, and were you starting?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that game
on the wing, they needed the pace.
Well, against Rocococo, was it? Oh wow. There's only one winner there, isn't it?
Good luck.
So yeah, I didn't know that was the hard bit. When I kind of came on, I was doing okay. We were doing okay. And then saw my number come up. I was like, oh shit, you kind of...
Sorry, you hadn't had that conversation prior?
No. So in the New Zealand game, when my number comes up, I'm sort of, you're kind of checking for blood, you're kind of checking for whatever. But, and you see Mellon running on then. And I always remember, I went back to the thingamajig, the dugout, and I was like, what's happening? They used to give you you'll be going back on second half, and I was like, right, I'll keep warm then. But I remember chucking a towel over my head. I remember Micron. So he was the scrum coach at the time, obviously. Done amazing things with the All Blacks, and I cry my eyes out, and Micron's like rubbing my back, I didn't know how to deal with it. It happened then the England game which you beat us, and then Scotland and maybe Ireland in the Six Nations, and then because I'd only played sort of 30 minutes, it was probably one of the only times. It sounds weird because you always want to play for your country, obviously, but I went to play for the Ospreys out in Munster, and I rolled my ankle. So I knew then I'd be out for 6 weeks, and I obviously didn't on purpose, but I was glad in a way because I didn't want to go through the humiliation of being subbed off a half hour again for Wales. I
remember speaking to you because you were there, and you said to me, "Let's go." I don't know. 30 minutes. I said, "What's he saying to you?" Nothing.
Sorry, so you didn't then follow up post game to say, "Oh, look, this was the."
In all honesty, I knew the second time it was going to happen. Really, against England, I sort of.
But he never said this is our plan, or this is what we're.
The only time he said something to me was in the lift once. And he was like, "How are you feeling after yesterday?" And I was like, "I was a bit gutted I came off." Obviously, that time he said, "Yeah," and he said something around fitness to me, and kind of just got out and left it. So I was only, what was I, 20, maybe 22 at the time. So and no. Any representative background or anything, and none of that. So I didn't really know how to deal with it, and I went back to that straight away. As soon as I got injured, started eating, bulked up. I think I went from in the World Cup I was like 120 kilos. End of the season I was like 135. So it was a fair bit of weight. And so that was always my coping mechanism.
But it's the care of the player as well. If he said to you, "Look, we're working on your fitness. We're going to play you 30 minutes, and then we're going to bring you off, and then maybe 35 next week, and then we'll see how you go. You tell us how you feel." And that I remember saying to you, because you said to me, "I don't know what to do." I said, "You just got to stick your head in. When you get picked, you go out, you play, you do what he wants, because there will be a point when he's gone, and then when he's gone, then you can start again."
Do you think it was detrimental?
It's so hard, isn't it?
Do you think it was detrimental to you playing that you were brought off 30 minutes, or do you think it actually spurred you on a little bit?
Not at the time, no. I was, yeah, like...
Because it didn't always happen.
No, looking back, further down, I think...
Did it motivate you more?
Yeah, a little bit. Once I kind of got over the, as I said, I was only 21, 22, so I didn't really know how to deal with these things. And, I was glad Mike came in, because he kind of gave me a little bit more... Yeah. We need a set piece. And at the end of the day, we were putting Gethin, who was a brilliant loose head, on the... And if you think about it, it made sense... if it was that easy, because you had Iestyn Thomas, you had Duncan and Gethin, who were all brilliant loose heads. And I was kind of the only tight head really knocking about. So it made sense if Gethin could do a job on the tight head, but he wasn't the tight head. So it was, if push come to shove in the scrum, then he was going to struggle. So
they got you into shape.
Yeah. But Andrew Hoare was the fitness coach. He was brilliant. He was brilliant to me.
Is that who you credit?
Yeah. From going from Steve Richards to him. Like that World Cup camp was, was hard, didn't it? A pile up Merthyr Mawr or whatever, and these type of stuff, and everyone was really fit, And I was in 120 kilos, which is just in the 19 stone.
Did you turn up at your house unannounced and check through your cupboards?
Hurry.
Yeah. No. I thought I heard that.
He's been making that rumour up for years.
Not forget drug testers. You had a sweet tester.
yeah.
You talk about Steve Hansen, and he went on to be a World Cup winner and everything. But you had that experience as a young player. I was older player and that. And I remember being up in North Wales where we went. We played. Was it Romania up in North Wales? And I'm not a morning person. You know what I mean? I'm literally not a morning person. You know what I mean? And we were. Then he brought in training at 7:30 in the morning, have a stretch at 7:30, out on the field at 8 o'clock. I was stretching at 7:30 in the morning, I haven't quite woken up, and he used to come in. Do you remember he used to come in? He used to like to wrestle all the young guys. You come in, he'd have a wrestle, you know what I mean? Oh, come on, let's have a wrestle, right? And I wasn't in a wrestling mood, right? So he came up, I was walking out to the field, right? I had my boots in one hand, I've got to be honest, I wasn't particularly awake. He comes up, he wrestles me, and before I know it, I picked him up and I'd thrown him into the grass. But then I walked off and I said, "Oh, I'm not for wrestling." And then I sort of woke up about 8:30, 9 o'clock then, and I thought, "Oh shit!" So I went back to the room and I phoned my wife. I said, "I think I'm just retired," and I finished the following week.
Do you remember in the World Cup, we had a training camp in Lanzarote.
Lanzarote, yeah.
I got like third-degree burns on the first day.
Wind sailing, didn't you?
Yeah. Steve Bennett gave me his sun cream, and I put it all on, and then realised the next day it was oil. Right?
Oh, usual Welsh cream. Factor 4. Yeah. Get it on you, boy.
Do you know the fitness test? How are you feeling?
Steve Hansen got us up really early on the first day, didn't he, to do training, and it was dark.
It was
we couldn't see anything. It was like 7 o'clock. It was dark. Didn't have a look at what time the sun.
Grateful for that.
The sun rose. Yeah. we weren't allowed to drop balls either.
We were doing skills. It was like don't blame the darkness for the dropping the ball. So you can't see the ball. So what do you expect?
We had one massive. Yeah. We were allowed out once during that campaign.
Yeah, 3 hours in.
3 hours.
In the strip. Yeah.
In the middle of the strip, and we went for it. Big time.
Oh, no doubt.
Were you naughty that night? Were you?
No,
in trouble?
We went to all the front row went out together.
Yes, that's right.
I remember after about 20 minutes, Iestyn Thomas doing the dentist chair. And it was the strip was dead as well.
I love that. It was like safety in numbers. The front row. It's all going out together.
I remember that we would come back in the bus, and it was so everyone it was like, oh, we'll have a few beers now. You see Andrew Hoare, Steve Hansen in the front of the bus thinking, what has happened here? Like JT's naked, Peely's naked, doing Barnacle Bill, the top, smashing stuff. Get back to the hotel, melon spewing all over the foyer of the hotel. It's, oh my God.
It's like someone's poisoned the team.
Yeah, did you play golf in Canberra? Were you in the Royal Canberra? We allowed to play Royal Canberra golf course.
They did
the front row again. The front row again were together, and they were playing in a
It wasn't me on the buggy. It was
and they were in their buggies playing one of the most prestigious courses.
I know the course it is.
And they're driving onto the green because they can't be bothered to get out, and the green cracks, doesn't it?
It was Iestyn and Mellon. So me and Dunk weren't. None of us are golfers, but they go on. What they call like this,
clearly
skid on the green.
Oh no!
Honestly, it was just like we were thinking, oh God, I think we might get in trouble for this.
There was a bill that came through, wasn't there? Because the green had been cracked. And it, you can't crack a green.
Internationally, you won a lot of rugby. You won 3 Grand Slams. He bangs on about it all the time, but is there any one that sticks out in your mind as being particularly your favourite?
Oh, I think the third one. Yeah, I think only because I kind of offered more on the third one they did in 5. Like in 5, I was kind of probably the only tight end in Wales, so it was kind of I was pushed in there, and I was and just after the Steve Hansen stuff, so I was playing a bit better.
And you probably appreciate how hard they are to bloody win as well.
Yeah, and also you appreciate the momentum to win them. You know, and you win that first game, the Gabs game against England. You know, and then the build up for the last game was phenomenal. And you remember the Ireland game. You know, you made that break, Rat scored. You know, he was Mellon again charging. But the third one I think because obviously it was the third one, which is pretty cool to win, to be one of 6 people. But I think I think I was offering more than that. I was a better player.
And talk to the cornrows you had in 2008.
Oh, you know, I saw that come on my television.
We've all been there. We've all been there.
I mean, what was you thinking there?
Just me then.
No.
Were you listening to a lot of R&B?
I did the Rat's Tail.
Do you know what I listened to? A little ball guy from Wigan. So, right, Sean's he's very. I grew up watching our Wigan team, late 80s, then obviously, and I love, brilliant, hell of a side. Idolized Sean. You know, when he came to coach us, he was brilliant. You know, even from the first meeting, we were blitzing. When you boys wanted us to drift, and now as soon as Sean came in, we go, we'll do it now, Sean, because these guys didn't want to say no to him. So he was like,
you wouldn't want. Yeah, you couldn't say no.
No, I know you couldn't say no.
But he just said one day we were training in the barn. We finished training on Tuesday. He was like, I don't want to do the accent, but he was like, "Hey, bum, have you ever had cornrows?" I think you look cool as fuck with cornrows. I was like, oh really? Really? So literally then I was driving back then home on the Tuesday night. I rang Lyndon Bateman, the hospital second road, had them. I said, where'd you get them done? He said, a place in Baglan. Baglan, a place in Penlan in Swansea. She said, have you got the number? So on the Wednesday then, I basically went down there.
Did you walk in there thinking, I'm not sure this is a good idea, but I'm going to go with it?
Penlan isn't a great idea the best of times anyway, but it was like, and I had it done and I was like,
Made you look younger. Made you look younger. I
think you might have been the first person I saw the next day walking into the barn, if I remember. But you were really better.
Well, and he settled you down.
He's good at that, isn't he? So he's not going to say anything, is he?
Hang on. What did Sean say?
Not much, usually. Not so bad.
I was only fucking joking.
Borrow this hat.
Fuck's sake, with a beanie on.
Go on.
Yeah, no, so that was, yeah.
The winning leads to, invariably leads to the odd night out. You know, when we had Warren Gatland on the show, he talked about being offered out for a fight by Shane Williams. I'm sure you've already divulged the front row caused absolute carnage on a night out.
I think...
But being Welsh and winning a Grand Slam and going into Cardiff must be probably the last thing you want to do.
I think the one that stuck in my mind, I think we even won. But do you remember we got walked into Walkabout after losing to the All Blacks, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We walked in almost like the Beatles walking in there.
Is that when we lost by a point?
Yeah, I think it was that, wasn't it? And that was more than the Grand Slam we'd lost.
Right.
Because we got close to the All Blacks, we got the Red Sea opened, we just ushered in, and it was like the whole crowd went nuts. That was the most surreal thing. We'd lost. It was just weird.
Did you realise in 2005 how much it meant to a nation winning a Grand Slam?
Yeah, I think
having it been so long, you know.
I think so, but I think as a bit of a rugby nerd, I kind of appreciated how hard it was.
Yeah.
You kind of look back at it. You look at how many people went north in the 80s. And then to the early 90s, it went north, and we lost so much, almost like loads of some generational talent going up there, Gibbsy, Bateman, these type of guys,
whoever said that was a good idea.
Yeah,
he doesn't have a mortgage now, so he's fine.
To these, we went late, didn't you? I was thinking early 90s, you went in 93, 4, didn't you? So
all right. Take it back.
They went then.
But then,
we had a bus full up ahead.
You didn't you realised how, because it was tough times in Wales, wasn't it? Watching Wales play in the 90s was like
we enjoyed it.
win all the time, didn't you? Even when we had a good side after, you still put 60 points on. I remember watching that game, and I remember just thinking it was nice to put a bit of pride back into it. But what you don't want for Wales, you never look. The fans always support you. The fans are always there. They were always like, even this year, going through the sort of the horses pick you up by the Angel. And, we haven't won a game in 15 games, but the streets are still lined, everyone's still cheering you. They're always supporting you, which is brilliant. And then to go from having such a tough time in the 90s, certainly the early to mid 90s, then to go to like a sort of, I wouldn't say a golden generation. Then it was pretty,
but no, it was a golden generation.
So it was pretty. So it was looking back, it was pretty cool to be part of it.
Yeah, and winning certainly Grand Slams, etc., were par for the course. When you're on the world stage, you very nearly got to a World Cup final, semi-final, if I'm right in thinking, Sam Warburton stayed on the pitch even longer than you. I mean, it didn't end well for you in that game.
No.
You came off injured.
4 minutes in, yeah.
4 minutes in, which is but just being part of that journey in the World Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, you have those moments where you think, you know, if we'd have had a little bit, if things had gone a bit differently, I mean, Alan Roland is the curse of us as well.
From a fan's point of view, I was in Auckland that night, and that is one of the hardest. Because you know the tackle or whatever you feel of the tackle, it doesn't matter. We were still in that game.
Yeah,
we were still, I believe, the better side that night.
That's at the end with 3 points.
I mean, I was in an ITV studio with Pinar, whatever, and no one could agree with that decision.
No.
Like it's a little bit. Warby's a big, powerful kid, and Vincent Clerc's like a skinny, quick winger. So you know, if Warby's coming with a bit of momentum, you know, did he tip him? The hard thing about that was I came off the 4 minutes and thinking, right, I'd come to terms with it. I'm obviously a carcass.
Yeah.
Tried strapping up the calf. He was like, "Who'll be fine?" I was like, "Tread run." He was like, "Cock." I'm done.
He's like, towel over your shoulder.
Yeah, off you come. Yeah. Anyway, and then I remember sat there for sort of 15 minutes, and then Warby like pops up next to me, and it's like, "Shit, what's happened here?" And he's like, "I've just been sent off," and it's obviously for us and dirty.
Yeah.
But
you
know, because he's not that type of player.
I saw Alan Roland the following morning, so I was going for a walk. I was in the hotel, and Alan Roland pops out, and I thought, it was a vision. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I walked down, and he spotted me, and I walked down, and he didn't say anything, and I punched him, bang, in the arm. And he went, "Excuse me," he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I promised next time I saw you, I'm going to punch you." And then I gave him a hug. I said, "It's all over now." I said, "I've got it out of my system." He said, "I fucking haven't." He said, I said, "No worry, come on, give me a hug." I said, what? And he went, "Oh, you know what I mean? Letter of the law and everything, that's fine. But we could have still won that one."
I think like looking at that team, I think
Bear
that was
hug, was it? A proper bear hug.
I did squeeze him on as well.
crushed him. Yeah, I think I'm obviously biased, but I think team-wise, I think I was one of our best, stronger sides.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I think with the sort of experience of players, the people coming through, you know, the half pennies, you had obviously myself, Gethin, and a bit older, Mike Phillips, then Alan Wynne and those boys the next stage.
Yeah.
I think the young kids like Toby and that coming through, I think that was probably our best.
That was the best Welsh team that you played in.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think...
we were unlucky against you in 03. Because we actually played in our first half in 03. We played some nice rugby, and then Greenwood was, you know, goal hanging, and then he scores down the right hand touchline. But we pushed you boys.
You did. I think the difference being that we had one player who's get Jason Robinson, a game changer. I mean, you know, you get two.
And your experience, you know,
and coincided with me coming off the half hour then, didn't it? Went.
Yeah, well, this is it for half hour. We were battering them. We were battering them.
So you played in a very successful Welsh era, selected for British and Irish Lions tours as well. Is that the pinnacle for you? Because you speak to some players and playing for their country is first over anything.
Yeah.
But where does it stand?
Oh, obviously playing for the countries, but I think Lions. I think and obviously these two went on the tour, but I think it became more special almost when you grew up. I was 16, I think, when the '97 tour happened, and going to South Africa after that tour. But then even the documentary, the video, you know, that probably made it more special because. You know, I remember the '89 tour mainly because Clive Rowlands was a Swansea Valley boy, Robert Jones.
He started the fight.
Yeah, Rob was a legend. '93 was probably a bit of a story, but I think that put '97. You know, winning it, and also the video put a lot of like love back into the Lions, and for me then to go on that, I think it made it the pinnacle then.
We had Phil Vickery on a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, that first test in South Africa, he has a lot of trouble against the beast, but you come on and shore things up. How difficult, how tough was that first test?
It was alright. It was obviously
not that bad, is it? Yeah.
No, obviously the hard bit has happened in the first half. So I'm a bit of a different body shape to Vix. In fairness, he's a bit taller than me. He wasn't that big at the time. He was only like
quite similar now, mind.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's a better shape now than he was then, wasn't he? So how big was he when he won the World Cup? He was a big man.
Yeah, he was a big man. Always tall though.
Yeah, but he was only. I think he was only about 114 kilos when he played in that, and that's not big. Like I was 120, 121, and. You know, a bit shorter, so it made it a bit easier for me.
Do you remember it? Do you remember coming on and thinking, right, the scrum's under a lot of pressure?
Yeah, no,
what's going to happen now?
Like Sean was like, you might be going on after half an hour, weirdly, you know. So that was, Yeah, I kind of knew I was going to come on at some point. So I was pretty, I wouldn't say I was confident because I never played for the Lions, but like, you know, I knew if I trusted my sort of technique, I'd be okay. And they actually scored. I came on, they scored a driving ball straight away. Yeah. It was a good start, well done me. And I think I missed my assignment on the front prop, and they went straight through, which was a great start.
So wasn't a scrum penalty, no, but exactly. It was still as bad.
But then the first scrum, that was the, you know, and as soon as after that, I was fine. Really.
Is that the most physical test series you've ever played in? Because
the second test was
Gats was on here and said it's the most brutal test match that you
remember, mate. Schalkberger gouged Luke Fitzgerald for 2 minutes.
He should have gone.
100%. And Schalkberger, he's actually a nice fella.
Lovely guy.
He never comes across as dirty and that. So, but there's a couple of things I always remember that. It was the drive-in. Yeah. And the braais and people like throwing stuff at the bus and the spitting of the bus, and it's real hostiles. It's not like going to Twickenham, you know. It was totally different, you know. It was
caviar coming over.
Yeah, it was a hostile environment. Yeah, it was.
And then there's a sign. I think it said something like the altitude is real as you walk out onto Loftus, and you know it is. Real. And very nervous, but I also remember it was the first scrum was or the second scrum of the game on the line. We won the penalty, and all the kind of nerves. Subsided a bit down, which was, and we were on top, and I ended up being quite lazy next to a ruck, and backies came and wiped me out, and it was pain. I'd never felt pain like it.
Yeah. What happened to you?
Dislocated my shoulder, so I was kind of stuck there like that.
It was a cheap shot.
Yeah, and it was before counter rucking, so I was I was having a blow. It was 1 minute in the second half, so I was fatigued for that 1 minute. So I was just on a little rest.
It was a long half time too.
Altitude gets you.
Each can talk, and each can talk. So he was
and sleep.
He hit me, and I was just stuck like that. I was walking off with I think it might have been Prav or one of the physios, and it was like, and it was weird things go through your head. Like Sean walked past, he was like, "You're going to go back on?" Yeah. I was like, I don't think so, Sean. And then, do you remember the Lethal Weapon, Mel Gibson? And he used to hit the back in, and I was thinking, this can be a piece of piss to get us back in now. And they wasn't.
Exactly.
The mask was going on, the morphine and stuff was going in, but he couldn't put it back in. And I can remember looking over to the other bed, and they were kind of realigning Gethin's cheek, which was broken. Right. And they were. And I was in pain, but he was absolutely screaming, and that was the only plus point really, that he was in more pain than me. And
so, loads went off, didn't they? Like Drico went off with Jamie Roberts.
That makes you stop worrying about yourself.
Yeah,
what have I got to worry about?
Just see Mellon over there in pain just made my day.
Go from the most brutal game to Australia then.
Walk in the
park. But surprisingly, right, because of 0-1 and the 1-1, going into Sydney and Gats making 10, picking 10 Welshmen, dropping Brian O'Driscoll, all of a sudden, there was a huge amount of pressure. What was it like being in the change room before that one?
Oh, because we had a few days up in Noosa, which was quite a clever thing to do. Really, we flew from Melbourne to Noosa, night on the beer, just to calm everyone's nerves. Didn't train until the Wednesday, and I'll always remember Driscoll, which I think sometimes he's a class player, isn't he? But sometimes he certainly came across as a player a bit like a little bit arrogant from when you played against him. But I'd moved to the back of the bus at the time because that was my status. So I was sat next to him, and it was straight after. I was like, "You literally don't know what to say to him," I'm like, "You're right, Beth, you okay?" Yeah. And he was like, "Yeah, sure." Shook his head. But probably the thing that told me more, I know Geach would go about Jason Leonard, but how Driscoll trained that week it blew my mind really, because we do the stuff like the minute drill and the wall drill and the offload drill, which you're not allowed to offload in. It was full on contact, but he was ripping into everything, to make the boys better, which probably just showed me
quality.
What a bloke he was like around. He could have sucked. He could have,
and he probably never had that.
No, I think it was the first time he's ever dropped. I think, wasn't it? In anything, and the way he trained was, blew my mind. Just a couple of instances, you could see the tension was getting there. Hibbs messed up a couple of plays at the back of the line out, and Johnny Sexton called him out a few times. You see Hibbs go from like his brow to like this, and he did it again, and Hibbs started walking towards him, and you see Johnny's face go, and Jamie just pulled Johnny away, and so you see Hibbs was ready to like rip his face off, and he probably would have, in the win, Rich. But it was the third test was, it wasn't because you knew everyone. Yeah. It was a little bit more confidence. Yeah. Because it was just weird because we did like a team walkthrough. and all the Lions fans are watching.
Yeah.
And it probably wasn't the greatest thing to do because it was almost like everyone, all these eyes, and you probably needed to be kept away. But yeah, it's 40 odd points in the.
Yeah.
You know.
And can I ask a question? I mean, it's one thing being a Lion, but to come back a winning Lion, it does feel different. It does feel special.
I think so. Yeah.
You know, if you think the people you play against, if they're Australian, New Zealand, South Africa, they only get one shot every 12 years.
Some great players and never.
And some great players who've never played against them. To play for the Lions, great, but to win.
Yeah, I think Australia probably, like 0-1, they were a seriously good side, but they probably weren't as. Well, I think Queens and Reds had won the Super 15 or Super Rugby, whatever it was called at the time, so they were still a good side.
But they probably didn't deserve to win that series, if I'm honest.
No.
I mean, I wouldn't say we threw it away, but we did.
They brought George back as well.
Yeah.
So George played 12 years before they brought Smith back, and they obviously wanted to win it, But I think, I remember obviously I coached Kyle, Kyle Sinclair, and. It was a big part of me going to Quins. And I remember when he went under 17, he asked me what's it like, and I said, it's easier said than done. I said, go out there, put everything to be in the test team, everything. Don't go out there just be happy to be in the squad. Just go out there to be a test match lion, and then
see what
win.
Happens.
Exactly. But you put everything to be that test match lion, and in fairness, he did. But it was to win a series is brilliant. I'd expect him to win it this year. First person I saw on the pitch was him. Because you were with Sky Sports at the time, and he was, I swear, he was more emotional than me.
Oh.
I mean, he was like, he gave me the Alan Rowland bear hug, and it was, I always remember it because he was so like, it was, because sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes the Welsh ex-players can get stuck into the players, and he obviously wasn't one of them, but he was more.
Shanks.
Yeah, exactly. He was more chuffed than us. It was amazing. I loved it.
To be there in 0-1 and to lose that a series we should have won. I don't know why we decided to change the tactics. We battered them for 3 hours of rugby, and then we changed the tactics half time of the second test, where we said, "Come on, we've got to play a bit wider." And we put a bit wider. I think Roth scored under the post after a couple of minutes, and all of a sudden, Australia got the momentum. So I stood there with Warren Gatland's picked 10 Welshmen, and to see you dominate. That was one of the great days for me. That one and the second test in 17. To see them come back and to see them win that in Wellington was absolutely brilliant.
It's like you say, you want to win, and it makes it more special. I think if you almost impact as well, like I was pleased with what happened in 2009 with the scrum, and we won a few scrum penalties in the third test. So like, I'm not going to score tries. I wasn't a very good tackler. I wasn't very good. I wouldn't touch the ball once a game. So to impact it another way, that was pleasing for me as from the scrum's point of view.
We finished on 95 caps for Wales.
Yes.
Is there part of you that wishes you could have got to 100, or was 95 enough for you?
No, of course. I was lucky. I had 5 Lions, so I kind of got there in the 2 things. So, I'd love to play. I think that's where I kind of took my eye off the ball a little bit. I kind of wanted to play 4 World Cups. I wanted to play 100 Test matches. I wanted to play, walk 100 Test match with my daughter on the pitch. So it kind of what I didn't do was they changed the scrum law between the 13 end of the line series and it was a totally different.
So instead of enjoying every cap, just for what it was, you think if you get ahead of yourself.
Exactly. And what I didn't do, and I've looked back at it now, I didn't move. I needed to probably change how I trained, certainly from a strength point of view. Like my game was engagement, hit and chase. Yeah. I was 19 stone. So if I get the angle right and chased and put pressure on the then I'd be okay. Yeah. But then how the game changed, then everything was became more of an isometric hold. I didn't change my training at all. I just kept doing the same sort of thing, So I should put
more plyometric.
What I probably should have done is put more emphasis on squatting, that lower body strength, more core stuff which I didn't.
But do you think that's helped you now then, as a coach?
Oh yeah.
Do you think that experience coming through there is a sort of now if there's a law change, or you know how to exploit that as well?
I think I was a bit sort of, probably one of the better word, a bit arrogant. Expected to be able to do it the same. And I soon found out, but it took me probably a season, and then by the time it came, I was dropped. I was gone. I was ended up in Quins, and it was suddenly totally, my career had kind of gone away from me. So I was never the time to kind of get it back in from a test match point of view.
Yeah, but how's that feeling now between you and Gats? Because obviously Warren picked you for a lot, but he was also the man that dropped you.
Oh no, at the time he was real bit. Didn't. I think there was a lot. Didn't like how he was done. Really, there was a few different bits where I thought we could have been a bit more transparent with each other. And I think, But you take it personally, didn't you? I did, but I remember like Gats, because I found out by a kind of answer phone message, only because I was training.
So what, he had rang you, you'd missed it, and then he left a voicemail?
Yeah, but I rang it back straight away, but that was like, you picked it, so that was, it was like no fault of his, but it was just, but it was like, because I rang it back straight away and he told me, so, but I listened to that first, so it was almost like, so it was a bit, so it wasn't any fault of his, I was just on the training pitch, so it was, but I think, I was sad. It made me sad.
Cool, but having asked you the question initially, the first thing you said is probably me. I should have adapted a bit quicker. I didn't do that. You didn't go,
No. So and it was Mark Hammett was there in Cardiff at the time, and he was good. He was actually really good for me because he kind of explained it to like he was with the All Blacks. And he was one of those ones where he was. He said it was a bit like losing a member of the family. Yeah. And I was like. Unfortunately, I lost my mother probably 3 or 4 years later, and I was like almost like it's not, but I kind of got his analogy a little bit like, so you get that sort of. But no, I think probably took me 3 or 4 years to kind of really sort of not get over it, but like feel less bit. I met saw Gats a few times and doing some corporate stuff.
Any slide digs?
No, we like shook hands and it was
But as a coach yourself now, working with players, where you now are in his shoes, which you weren't then.
Exactly.
And you're thinking, delivering good news, that's the easy bit.
Exactly.
I've got to phone this kid up and say he's not playing in the biggest game of his life or whatever. Do you think about that? And you learnt the lessons from that. And by the way, if a player makes it an easy conversation for you as a coach, then there's something wrong with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was,
you've got to expect it to be a bit uncomfortable.
It's made me realise it's in fact you've got to communicate well with them, and also you want to win. Yeah. So if you as a coach think that's the best reason so and so's not playing, then you don't pick him. And it's like it's hard, isn't it? It's like I find it tough, but like
Do you deliver bad news now yourself? Do you have to tell players a drop?
Yeah. No, to be fair. It is. It's not something. It's not an easy conversation.
I've got a great job today.
Yeah. I can't wait to tell Will Collier he's not playing in the Premiership final.
Jenkins would love it.
Can't be right up his alley with it. To be fair, but no, it's, but some boys are good. Some boys, get a little bit, not funny about it, but like as you'd imagine. But like
that's a hard bit of coaching. What's the best bit? Is it putting the kit on and being able to see players get better week in, week out? And
I think the best bit and the easiest bit is I've transitioned from a player straight into it. Yeah. And you still have the week, you have the build. You do the analysis, you then present, which is probably the hardest bit for me at the start. Around being Welsh, going to Harlequins. To slow everything down so everyone can understand what I'm saying a little bit, because
Scott hasn't learned that yet.
Hey, come on.
What'd you say?
I got feelings too,
But that's what I did find out. It was like to be fair, when Guzzy came in, he used to make me tell stories around like growing just in front of the boys, so I'd feel more comfortable and doing this or sitting in front of like. I remember doing a QA in one of Hambo's things, and that's fine. But then presenting and trying to get your message across to
a group,
it's tough. It's a totally different thing, So that took me a while, but I've got better at it now. I went to the club to essentially mentor 3 props. Yeah. Still play a little bit, Obviously, Will Collier, who's gone to cast now, Kyle Sinclair and Mr. Marler. So they were all kind of the Connor O'Shea and John Kingston were like, we still want you to play, but. We want to mentor these guys.
Who was the hardest to mentor out of them?
I tell you, they've all got their own. Honestly,
that naturally lends itself for you. I mean, that almost gives you like a little window, a lens of which to then think about coaching, doesn't it? Because you go, I'm mentoring these guys. So you coached Quins, and you are still coaching them now. You've been very successful at various points. You answered a call recently to go into the Wales camp. And join Warren Gatland, someone you know throughout your entire career. I can only imagine what that must have felt like because you've been involved in such a successful team. Did you know exactly what you were walking into, or did you think? And don't hold back here, because I turned up at the beginning of the Six Nations, and I got a lot of affinity for Wales, believe it or not, because my two best mates were coaching them. Right, and Prav and the whole group.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
so
sure.
Bobby, and I was looking around thinking, these guys are young.
Yeah.
And they're pretty small, if I'm honest. And I didn't mean that in a derogatory way. I just didn't see where it's such a power game now.
Yeah.
You know, with France and South Africa. And what were your impressions of when you went in there?
Well, I wouldn't say I've watched a lot of URC. So a lot of players, I was like, some of the backs were coming in. I was almost having to ask umps, like what's his name, that type of stuff. Because I watched the coach in the Premiership, you know, so I don't see a lot of it. So I kind of went in with a bit of a clean slate, like, so that was a good way. What I did find out straight away was they are young, but well, the main thing, and this is a phrase Jerry Flannery used to say all the time when he was with the Quins, he said the Welsh, you can tell the Welsh boys care, and they do care, and that's the main thing I took out of it. You know, they're tough. They're not the biggest anymore. Yeah. Like, they're not sort of my size or, you know, your size, or, you know, I'm glad they're not your size, but like, but yeah, they care, and they're tough, and I think we've got to build something around that as well. I think, you know, we're never going to have the biggest players. I don't think you're never going to have like a 150 kilo right hand lock, like, or, you know, or whoever, you know, an 160 kilo tight head pro. Well, unless you want to pick me again. So then which is the closest thing. But it was like, we care, and we've got that mentality of the Welsh. You never know you're beaten. They'll fight to the end. So that's the one thing I saw straight away. And
having played for Wales with such distinction for so many years, and coaching is now your life, it's your business, your profession, is what pays the bills. Was there not part of you that went back to the Vale and it gets the juices going again? Because there's one thing coaching at club level.
And it's only 5 caps. You know what I mean? You're going, I could do it in Japan in the summer. Yeah, I could do a job. There's 97.
Not 30 degrees.
But there's part of you that when you're driving back in, it's like you're turning back the clock, and the same, for some of those same feelings and emotions that you felt from the very first time you were a Wales international and you're coming in there, you thought, because a lot of things change in life, but some things don't change, do they?
That was probably I probably
that was as good as it got, really.
Yeah, the first day in, the first drive in. The first time, that was the one thing I knew was going to happen. But when it did, you know, when you felt that sort of drive down the Vale, when you get to your room, then you go downstairs to the team, and that, like, to go back there, the buzz was unreal, and then the match days are unreal. You get that buzz back, and, you know, getting, you know, in Italy and France, you know, getting sped around with the police and stuff, and, you know, whatever, the drive into the stadium, and then seeing the fans, that buzz was unreal, and it was, you know, that was something I knew was going to happen, but yeah, to have that again after sort of so long out of it, it was, you know. What did you
learn with sort of coaching with Warren Gatland, and I suppose maybe Matt Sherritt for the second part of the campaign? You know, did it change your perspective on international rugby? Did you find out certain things about what it takes to coach at that level?
I think tell you what, I did. Nothing's massively different. As in, people run the same shape, people defend the same way, people, you know, in the scrum, no one is doing anything, line out or whatever. Or there's always different. Everything was against, but it's the intent. The intent is way higher than the Premiership, so I assume it's higher than. So the intent, you know, whether it's the engagement, the scrum is higher. There's more intent. You know, the line speed, how much you have to carry with intent. Everything's a little bit more. You know, everyone runs the same shape. Yeah. You know, you run off 9, you run square, you play a little tip, play a little bit out of the back. But how do you get then over the gain line a bit more? Because you have to run harder, you have to put a bit of footwork in. So I put the main thing down to was everything. The intent is way higher than test match level, which we all know, which we've all experienced, but it was probably going back, that was probably the biggest learning, especially around for my area, was the scrum.
Would you be keen to go back as well?
Ooh. That was my question.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to, yeah. I really enjoyed it, it was good, you know, the boys...
You've had a taste of it?
Yeah, the boys are brilliant. I enjoyed working with them.
What do you think you can do then to make them better?
I'd like more time with them around my area, you know. If that was the case, I kind of went in the week of the French game, you know, so it wasn't much. And the big sticker block of Wales is, you go to the fallow weeks, there's only 10, 11 of training, and some of your main players have gone back to their clubs, whereas France, England, Ireland, you're all in camp. Yeah. So
they need to look at that law.
So that's the hardest thing. You know, we lose probably 3 full training sessions a week there. And that's a tough one for us.
And I'm not sure if this happens or not, but if you say, like, you go back, I would want you, not only when Wales are in camp, but working with tight ends, working with loose ends, working with the hookers, working as a group, go to the Scarlets, go to the Ospreys, go to the Dragons, go to the Blues, and work as a group, because I think we tend to, you know what I mean, we only have them for 2 weeks. No. Go see them.
Well, I think,
you know, go see them.
I think I'm probably a better coach in those little sort of one-on-one type of things, rather than, you know, no, I'm not saying I'd like to think I'm not a bad coach when everyone's in there, but like, you know, I think, one-on-ones, you know, little, like, I'm not a massive, like, you have to do this, you know, you have to do what I did, or you have to do, this is the technique. You know, if I want to get you to the camera, you get there however you want, but as long as that's the main principle is to get you there. Like, that's what, you know, I'm not. Probably the hardest thing I found in the Six Nations more than anything was coaching against England. Yeah. I'm doing the preview of the England game, and I'm coaching against Finn Baxter. That's the hardest bit I found.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I remember.
I taught him that.
Yeah, well, he was a tight end that moved the loose head 4 years ago, and he was like, he's a great kid, and he's a brilliant player, and he's the nicest boy in the world. And I'm like sat in the Vale, like telling Will Griff-John, Finn doesn't like this, and so that's what I found really tough. More than like losing, really, I found I really struggled that day to.
And Jonesy, just to be straight to the point, my old friend Dave Redding is taken over as a performance director. There's a vacancy for the head coach's job. Who would you like to see there?
It's honestly, whoever wants it, as in you know, it's a tough job. And you know, whoever wants to
still more pain, you think, in the next few years than
yeah, but like coming, was it 16 games or 17 games? You know, I suppose if you look at it one way, you know, can only get better. But you know, there's a lot of people. I know Steve Tandy's a really good coach. I don't know really who else has been mentioned, but
Franco Smith. Budget plays a big part in it.
Yeah,
as well.
exactly.
Like, how much budget have we got? Have we got like 600 grand? Have we got 200 grand?
Like I think I heard Dave Redding say he doesn't want that sort of unicorn coach, if I read correctly in one of the articles, which is obviously your sort of.
Well, it doesn't exist.
Well,
that's a fairy tale.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's a tough one. It's
the team around the coach as well, which is important.
Yeah.
You know, I think an attack coach, a technical attack coach.
I thought Jockey was brilliant when he came in.
I think he'd be very good in the setup.
Yeah. He's very good. The way he speaks, he's not. You could see he's a good laugh. He takes the mick out of the boys. Matt Sherwood. Yeah, so he takes the mick out of the boys.
But if you look at the top level of internet, and I'm talking about the South Africas, the France, and you look at the structures that they have in place. I mean, you come from quite a refined Quinn's coaching structure where you've got a team manager, head coach, defence, and something. I think at international level, there's some big personalities within that group, and you can't just go one person's going to make the big fix, is there really? No, I mean, if Tandy goes in, he's a defence coach, but he's still going to need all the other facets of the game.
And if you go in, if you go in as a defence coach, he's coming from Scotland. But what I like about Steve Tandy, he won the league with the Ospreys back in the day, and then he went then to Australia, not with a job, but got a job. So they rated him, and then he came back to Scotland. He's done a good job in Scotland. Now, does he come back in and say, if he's been defence coach for a number of years, I don't think a head coach needs to be that specific. You know what I mean? You may have to look.
We're seeing everything more.
It's so much hard to do defence and everything else to see the bigger picture. Yeah. So I think he'd have to step up and get the people in below him to do the job. And I think that's the key.
Like in fairness, like the guys who are there now, like Forsh is a good coach, Hamps is a good coach. There's a lot of obviously Owlers isn't there now, but Jenks has been there for boys
good, like good men.
Good men, exactly. So that there's no there's no one you think but they're all good and they all and again go back to they all care. Yeah. They're not just doing it for a paycheck. They're doing it because they want to make Wales better. So that's.
Well, you know Dave Redding better than anybody else. Yeah. What's he going to bring?
Well, I mean, hopefully a much broader view, 360-degree view than rugby. Obviously, rugby's important and rugby knowledge. And listen, he's worked in the best structures across the world. Not just he started at Loughborough, so he comes from a science base. I mean, I don't think Wales have ever reach the same fitness levels as they did when the likes of Craig White and Bobby Stridgen were there, and I do think that is, it's all
pathways is key. It's got to be pathways.
Pathways
and
is
pathways.
key. And I think working within a budget and not trying to do everything all at once. Really, it's not it's not a quick.
It's a positive appointment, though.
I think so.
I think so as well. And honesty, he'll bring honesty.
Stick to Rugby, brought to you by Defender.
Joe Marler, another visitor on this pod. You worked with him. He was, you were brought in to mentor him.
I didn't know how to take him when he came on the pod.
I liked him.
I mean,
I loved him, but
Well, 1 minute,
never know where you are.
when you know someone's has got a little bit of yin and yang, he publicises his own mental health struggles. Then he flicks a little comment your way, and you go, "Oh, a minute, are you joking?" Or not? But I mean, you worked with him. Obviously, as a player, I don't think there's any doubt. But I mean, he talks very candidly and openly, especially towards the last. I mean, to quit mid-season's odd, right? It's a bit strange. And he just said, "Look, I just knew I'd had enough," and phoned up, and then. Is there part of you that saw a bit of that in and out and that sort of highs and lows and ups and downs?
Yeah, he could. I got on really well with Joe. That's I was very lucky. I played against him in that 2013 game.
Yeah.
We got about 3 or 4 scrum penalties against him in that. So we've always had that, he's always joked about it, and so we got on really well. He can be hard work, and sometimes a lot of fires to put out around him, around the environment. But deep down, he loves making you feel awkward. So the first time I ever met his wife Daisy, Joe introduces me to Daisy. I says, "Bom, nice to meet you." He said, and he kind of stopped and went, "Do you remember after the England game in 2013? I had really struggles then after it, basically with my mental health." And she was like, "Oh yeah." So it was his fault. And I'm so there.
No.
Yeah, I like Daisy. Okay, type of thing. So he likes that. Well, he does again. If you're friends with him, he's the best bloke. He is the best bloke, and. So I wouldn't get emotional here, but we're in San Francisco with Quins on a pre-season camp. We've been to Philadelphia the year before, San Francisco the next year. The furthest we went with the Ospreys was 10B or something like that. So with Quins is already a different.
That's a posh club.
And we had a good night out. It was a day off the next day. I get a phone call from my wife at 3 a.m. Say, obviously back in the UK, saying my mother's died. So she fell in the stairs. So this is probably 3, 4 in the morning in San Francisco. So you're obviously devastated. So I come back to the room and I'm crying my eyes out, like obviously very sad. Sat at the end of the bed, and Joe's my roommate, and he's like, "Bom, what's happened? What's happened?" And I was crying. I was like, "My mum's died. She's fallen down the stairs." So he rushes over. He's like, "What can I do? What can I do?" And I'm sat at the end of the bed, and I don't know if he did this on purpose. I looked up, and all I could see was his genitals in my face like that. Literally, and I don't know whether he did it on purpose. But I'm like, he looks at me, he says, "Should I put some shorts on?" Yeah, let's start with that.
That'd be a good thing to do.
And then just it sort of lightened the mood straight away. And then he took me to Denny's, and we spent about next 2 hours there, sort of just reminiscing and eating. But when he cares about you, he's the best bloke. Yeah. As I said, he can be a nightmare. And if he doesn't care, he can be a pit. But yeah.
So you know if he cares you, if he shoves you bollocks.
Yeah. I'll always remember that day when he was there for me, because he was the way he kind of. I don't think he was joking, but this happened to be quite amusing having this package in my face, shall we say?
But she was
I genuinely don't know what to say after that.
Your mum was your biggest supporter.
Yeah, no, she was. She was huge. She was. She was.
All the
she was
games.
very. She always travelled, very vocal. Yeah, I was always a little bit embarrassed until I remember Richard Parks said he was sat next to my mother once. This was my first cap. And I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Was she allowed? He was like, "I loved it. I just wish I was." And I from that moment on, but massive supporter. When when I got dropped by Wales, she'd see a picture of Gats or video or whatever it was on TV, and she'd go red, to the point that she would get so angry and so emotional. And the only other time I'd seen that was when my grandmother would see Margaret Thatcher on TV. Because I'm top of the Swansea Valley, mining it. So see Margaret Thatcher on TV, my gran would go so she bigger supporter, she was class.
Right, so finally, and then I promise we'll let you go, we've got some quick fire questions from the community.
Oh, quiz questions?
For the community.
Just general questions. So the match you'll never forget.
England, 2013. Stop them winning the Grand Slam.
30 points to 3.
30 points.
Properly bashed. No, don't do it me. They properly bashed them.
3 scrum pens.
Yeah. Oh. That's better than the first child, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Best player you played with or against?
Forward, I'll go with forward Al.
Alwyn Jones.
I probably didn't. He was obviously really good, but I think he kind of went into his own mythical status after I'd kind of finished playing with him. But best was, I think, Shane as well. Shane, 5'8", 12 stone.
Good drinker as well, wasn't he?
Very good drinker. Yeah, hollow legs.
Didn't give much weight behind you in the scrum.
No, terrible weight, but good on night out. I love the fight.
Do you remember any? I remember some of the tries he scored. Do you remember one that sticks out for you? I mean, he scored some absolute worldies, didn't he?
I think it was against France in 2010.
Yeah, that's right.
He scored this one down the edge, and he just had. But it was in a game of giants.
Yeah.
To give the ball to the smallest guy in the pitch and go on, but go and do something, and then never usually did a win.
Fiji was a good one. Remember Fiji in the World Cup?
Scotland. When we beat Scotland in the 85th minute or whatever it was. Remember that one?
See, I was one pass out.
Yeah.
I was holding the width.
Guys, do you know how many tries he scored? We'll be here all day.
Right, most underrated player you played with?
He wasn't underrated because he went on the Lions tour, but Hibbs. Hibbs and Paul James as well. I think
Richard Hibbs.
He's coming of age, really, wasn't it, the Lions tour?
Richard Hibbard, I think.
2013.
It took a while, but him and Paul were...
good lad.
Gethin was always above Paul.
Yeah.
But we knew if Gethin got injured, you always had Paul. So which is
Any nicknames for Hibbs?
Patrick Swayze.
Yeah.
There was another one, shit tat pig thing. That was another one.
He's like a darts player.
Catchy,
To a darts player.
Yeah, was he?
Yeah.
Go on.
He was brilliant. He was. I think that's a 13-year. He played a few times for Wales.
Decent tourist as well, like on the good on a night out all the time.
No, he missed Port Talbot too much.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he struggled with it really. Yeah, he was always very. He'd have a beer, but he'd never get too.
Not too long.
That's 6 weeks in Australia. It was in Australia, one of the greatest countries.
Yeah.
But we hated every minute of it. You'd rather be in Aberafon Beach.
What would your teammates say about you?
I think they say I was quite quiet. I was quite quiet as a player. I was never really vocal. I think durable and solid, I'd say. Yeah.
Unintentionally funny.
Great hair.
And intentionally funny.
Awkward ones.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Favourite movie of all time?
The Untouchables.
Yeah.
Good one.
That was underwhelming.
Long, isn't it?
You pull a
Long.
gun. If they pull a knife, you pull a gun.
Exactly. Yeah.
Final two. What is the best meal you can cook?
Not much of a chef, really.
You went to catering, Colin.
Yeah.
I did kick with GCSE.
Oh, GCSE, sorry.
Your favourite meal then?
I reckon I do a good steak.
Good steak, nice.
Yeah.
And your favourite holiday destination?
Canada.
Nice, solid one.
West side.
Do you know if they kicked me out to Wales tomorrow, I'd move to Canada?
Yeah, it's lovely.
It's amazing.
The family out that side is good. Nice part
Yeah,
of the
it's
world.
beautiful.
Perfect.
Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. I think we all agree.
thanks for having me.
Thank you. And you all the very best with the rest of the season.
Yes.
And with wherever you end up in the summer.
Yeah.
It might be Canada, or it might be somewhere else.
Quite fancy Canada.